And welcome again to the June IMP Peer Share Call about online fundraising events, which, it's obviously particularly pertinent at this time, but this may be, something we want to look at going forward too, just to have a different kind of successful event. So the first thing I'm going to share are these 8 steps to weather the coronavirus and having some successful fundraising. These 8 steps come from a fundraising professional, Amy Eisenstein, and I neglected to add her link in this, but I will before we send this out to everyone. So she has much more online, and there are actually some other resources you can connect with. But I just wanted to give, set the stage for some things that we should all be doing. And the first thing just is to keep calm and carry on. She refers back to the financial crisis and folks, nonprofits that just simply quit fundraising, and in the long run, they were worse off than others that just continued carrying on with their plans. So easy to say this, but just if you have a fundraising plan and trying to stick with it, obviously there's going to be some adaptations. If you haven't already, and I know some of you have been having board meetings obviously in the last couple of months, but just convening your board and talking about your financial situation and what changes will have to be made. And I like just sharing your plan that you're going to continue with your plan is to continue with your plan and keep moving forward. Obviously, you need fundraising to stay a viable program. Meeting with your donors more frequently, and so it suggests that you identify, those really your top donors, and that you are touching base with them and letting them know the services you've been providing. I keep saying on all of our calls too, we really have to just be tooting our own horns that we've provided this critical service to support young people and their social emotional needs in this time where they haven't had a lot of support otherwise too. So I think that's a really important suggestion as well. I like this one about canceling events. Our inclination right away would be like, let's refund the money to folks. But I do agree with this, that especially like large corporations and sponsorships, they have already had that allotted to your event. And just have conversations with them and let them know you're changing it, or it's going to, whatever, it's going to look a little different, but you still need that support and you would still appreciate that donation. And then if they're ticket buyers, the suggestion too is just consider that that's a donation, and also like just that you're going to have ongoing needs too, and if they wanted to be an ongoing contributor, obviously you'd always welcome that. I don't know if this is the case for anyone if they're in the midst of any kind of a capital campaign, but their suggestion is that you consider that. If you were planning something, the need is probably still there. Continue that. If you're in the middle of it, you might need to adjust goals or your timeline perhaps, but don't abandon that. That need has probably not gone away. Thanking your donors, you do that all the time, but just acknowledging at this time, this again, a time to remind them this is what we've been doing, and thank you so much for supporting our important work at this time and ongoing. And don't make assumptions that donors, what they will or won't do, that they're so strapped they don't have the money to give, or assuming what they can or cannot do. It's just about being out there again, still making ask, and just expressing what your needs are, which is the last bullet point too. Just let people know how revenue has been down, or that your needs are increased because of the services you're trying to provide. So it says don't be shy and hold back. So I just want to share that again. I will provide the link when I send out the slides, so you can have that resource from her website, and there are some other resources on there, and we're going to share more resources at the end. I will pause here if people have questions or comments on any of these things that they're relevant to them right now, and please keep sharing in the chat if you had to cancel a fundraiser this spring, or if you've changed something to virtual. And we'll queue up Marty if anyone else has a comment before we move on. With not hearing other comments, and please continue to use the chat if you need it to, we'll introduce Marty Lester, the Executive Director of Mentor Iowa, here in Des Moines. And Marty's going to share with us about their pivot this spring from an in-person event to a virtual event. So Marty, take it away.
First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Well, it was kind of a stressful situation for us. Our in-person event was supposed to be set for Sunday, April 26th. So, as we're moving, in March and we're thinking about delays or postponing, this is kind of what I told people. I really felt like Stretch Armstrong because I was getting pulled in so many different ways from, board members who were saying, we need to cancel this event. Board members who were like, we need to postpone this event. And then the board members were like, yeah, let's keep going forward with it. So, after weighing every option possible, we decided, and thankfully we decided to move forward. And we went with an online auction portal, which I'll share that portal that we used later in this presentation. But really glad we did. I mean, it was a stressful time for sure, like asking for donations and things of that nature. But we were able to kind of get a head start on asking for donations. Right when January hit, we were asking people. So once March happened, a lot of the requests that were sent out that hadn't responded, we were already kind of anticipating what the answer was going to be. So we just kind of went with what we had and went forward with it. So I mean, and the big question is, why do you want to do an online auction? And the big thing is you want to raise money for it. And like when we didn't really have another option besides canceling or postponing, so we still needed to raise the money around this time, and it was like the best option that we had when we had to move on and canceling our in-person event. We still wanted our champions to be aware of Mentor Iowa and what we were doing. So, that's kind of how we move forward with it. So we can move on. So the perks of the virtual event that we had, one of the cool things that we had was, I mean, when you have a live person event, we always had our food expenses and things of that, all the expenses that go into it. So we save money by not having all those in-person event expenses. Now, I say it's easy to put together on the slide there, but you have to kind of pay attention to what auction portal you go with and just follow their directions. The staff that we worked with, they pretty much got to know me by name because I called so much, just asking certain questions, and they were questions that were needed to make sure that the event was a success, because you don't want your auction ending at 6 p.m. and then realizing that you said the time to end on accident would have been like 4:30 or 8 o'clock. That happened to one of the bigger nonprofits around here. They said their auction was going to end at 7:30, and there was a glitch in the system, and it ended at 6. So there was a lot of money that was not able to be raised because of that one little glitch. So we did tests and everything like that, but it worked out really well for us to keep keep up to date and having tests of your champions with you. And one of the other cool things is that sometimes people who have money don't want to be in large groups, which is kind of what our event is. So we were able to have some of our champions who typically wouldn't be able to be at our live event, have them sign up for the auction portal and get a registration and their bid number, and they were good to go. One of the things that we utilize quite a bit too is our social media pages. So if you'd go to Mentor Iowa's website, you'd be able to see quite a bit of I try to do a auction item a day, and then just trying to drive the traffic. And whenever we have people who were signing up, we got their email address as well, so I could continually add to. We have MailChimp is our email database server, and I was able to add to that and keep people just informed as to things that we were doing. like places that were supporting us. And it just, as far as that whole concept, we were able to gain a lot of new champions by putting stuff on like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those different places. I at least for Facebook, I was able to like share our event. So we had all of our people who were already planning on doing it, they could share the event with their friends as well. So we were able to gain, I think when I was looking through my list, probably a third of the people who were like bidding or had signed up, I had no idea who they were, but they were there to support a charity that their friends or family members were a part of as well. So it was kind of cool to see how much our champion database grew by doing it online. And so one of the things, like with our live person event, we were able to like bundle up a lot of different items just because we didn't have a lot of space. We did it at a golf club in their clubhouse, and we ran out of space here. With a online event, you're able to like promote each donor, because I didn't want to bundle up stuff and not give them enough credit. So I was able, even if it was a $25 gift card to a restaurant, I could put that on there, and it was able to give that business the marketing that they deserve for donating to us. And one of the cool things too is that, like I was mentioning before, our auction support staff, they were there. In fact, I still have a sticky note on my computer just as a reminder to have that phone number always handy, to give them a call every once in a while. So there are some challenges that I kind of realized. Once again, kind of talking about the virtual planning aspect of it. It is scary to try something new. So, everybody with our auction, we were always used to pen and paper, doing those kind of bids. And to try this on such a short notice definitely was scary. But once we kind of realized the ease of it, that kind of helped us, get past that scary feeling. With our auction portal, there was a fee for us. We had to pay. It ended up being like almost $2,000 for us to have access to it, but we have access to it for the whole year. So that's kind of cool for us, because now, because we had such a successful event, we're actually going to try and do, more like online activities, through auction items. We just got a golf course package that's pretty good for us to auction off, and we're going to use this. So, and when we have our golf tournament, we'll do it. So we can just kind of do it throughout the year, which is kind of nice to have. Plus, it'll keep Mentor Iowa in the minds of everyone who you hopefully want to bid on your items. There is a fee, with credit cards. It was 3.5%, and you go through a bank, which, like the auction group that we used, they had a bank that was set up, and it goes right to your bank account that you set up. And there's for every transaction, there's a 35-cent fee. So financially, those are a few challenges right there. You also have the doubters, the people who just don't want to they're not technically savvy, or technology just kind of passed them by. So I have my share of those doubters, just to be like, what's going on with or how's this working? You can explain it to them, then you have to explain it to them again. And I think there are some people who just like how certain things are, and I hate to say it, but they may want you to fail just so they can go back to their original system of paper and pen and figuring out how something new can work. So I had my doubters, but once you talked them through everything, it seemed to work. And then the other thing, and this kind of goes in with the doubters, will those that are in attendance, are they going to understand how it works? So when we were thinking about doing this, as far as like an in-person event, we actually had a couple computers set up aside that people who didn't have a phone or whatever could go to that specific spot. But for us, this kind of worked out pretty well going to the virtual. It was kind of like a test run in a certain way, if that makes sense, because now everybody, because we're going to do this again and again from now on. For those in attendance, now they're already signed into the portal, so all they have to do next year is just update the system and see how things can easily be in a few clicks and updating like your credit card in there. They're ready to go. The other ways, like I was part of a community circle discussion and a few different ways too, that, like you can help with your event, or other ways to utilize it is like if you have galas. I know some groups like they're doing live video feeds, like, and that's one thing that I wish we would have done is like, so we have some awards that we give out with the social distancing. I'm not exactly sure how we could have pulled it off, but just maybe having some kind of video like our award recipients, but that way it probably would have gave a little bit more of an oomph and pulled on a few heartstrings. But I mean, that was one way, we could have incorporated it. I know one group, they offered like music, so they were going to try and do music playing while the auction was going on, just by going to the website too. So there are just different aspects and ways to think about how your charity can benefit from going online. There's an opportunity to do raffles. So if you did do a raffle, people could buy tickets online. I'm not exactly sure how they pull, but it might be like your charity just when somebody buys a raffle ticket, you put the ticket in a bowl at your office or whatever, and then just do a live pulling of raffle items there. But that's just something that you can do. And if you're looking at trying to do admission tickets, things like that, where people, if you were expecting a fee for people to come in, I know like one group, for example, it's actually coming up this weekend. Part of their admission ticket included a meal. So they worked with some local restaurants in their area, and they're able to give those tickets to, or not the tickets, but they're able to provide a meal for anybody who wants to, that were attending or planning on attending the event. So they can go to that restaurant and provide them a ticket or call ahead, and so that they can enjoy their fancy meal, but they would do it at home while being a part of their auction. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense there. But the beneficial features for us, it was really easy for our bidders to register and sign in. There was a buy it now feature, and there's a little bit of, on my end, controversy. Maybe controversy is not the right word, but people debating if that was the right thing to do or not. Because like on my first day, which I got really lucky to when it came to our online auction, the day that we opened up bidding, which we had it live for 10 days, the stimulus checks dropped in people's accounts. So people were just buying up some of our gift cards right away. So some of the people who were mad were the ones who were like, well, that's not really an auction. Auctions, you're bidding up. And then my argument back to them was, well, I'd rather have somebody spend $150 for a $100 gift card and just have that money right away instead of having bid battles at the end. I'm happy with that return on investment. But once again, I think we all know in this world that you're not going to make everybody happy. I'm just laughing at myself by saying that, because I mean, it can be a challenge with all the different features that are around. So what we ended up doing too, which I thought was kind of cool, is we took some of our sponsor money and we went to a lot of the restaurants and businesses that supported us. So I went and used those funds to buy gift cards, and then I added them to our auction item list, because you can add items up to the day of your event if you wanted to. So when I went there, I just introduced myself and just said, hey, thank you for your many years of support. This is our time to give back to you and help support you. So it was a good feeling knowing that we were helping out some of the businesses that were struggling because the governor's regulations. but hopefully it's going to secure us donations down the road once the economy gets back up and going again. With our package that we had, I was able to like click on a button and it would give me all the up to the second bid totals. First of all, on all the auction items that we had, and then I could see like how much money we were raised, how much money we received in donations, and then like when people sign in, you know, they could sign in with their credit card, and I got the money the next day in our account once they clicked the payment button. But there are different ways. If you have somebody who doesn't want to pay with a credit card, which there's a handful that do, but a lot of people like using credit cards now for receiving points and, you know, using those points for rewards and stuff like that. But you know, they can check and say they'd rather pay cash or check too. So I mean, there's different ways for people to pay, which is nice for them. And then also it's just a great way, once again, to incorporate your social media pages and driving everyone to your auction, but also driving everyone to your what your mission is in your program and what you try to do. So I also was a part of another through the Greater Des Moines Community Foundation. They had weekly like community circle conversations. So there's a link that I'm just going to provide. I don't know if it can come up here or not, but it's just on YouTube, and it was myself, and there was 4 other individuals. Maybe it's the one previous, the slide.
It's on the next slide, actually.
Okay. Oh, I must have flipped it up. My fault. So I'm going to go back to the, yep, to that YouTube right there. Sorry about that. So that YouTube video, it's about a half hour in length, and we just kind of chatted about, you know, different strategies. So there was myself and another person from the zoo, and we kind of talked about how we used our online auction portal, and then the other 2 individuals talked about like galas and how they did their how they incorporated like the music and awards and things like that. So now the portal that we used, it was called One Cause, and they were great. I mean, from start to finish. So if anybody wants to see like how ours looked, you can just go, it's bidpal.net with the / and then Mentor Iowa. So that'll take you to it and can just show you all the things that we were able to get. And our person, her name was Carrie Robbins, and that's her email right there, krobbins@onecause.com, and she's their one of their customer success managers, and with their phone number, and that's their website there as well. You know, it was a fun. I mean, it really was kind of fun for people who were all cooped up and wanting something to do. So the timing was really good. And, you know, one of the things that we were looking at as well is like, you know, if you cancel your event, your funding's gone. If you postpone it, because that was one of the like I said, that was one of the options. So when we were thinking about the option of postponing it, now you're gonna compete with all the other auctions that postpone their events, plus, you know, going into golf season. So I mean, there's just a lot of different things. So that's kind of why we took a chance to do it, but we kind of improvised things as well. So I think we ended up with about 7 items that didn't receive bids. So those items we're going to use. So like we have like an award ceremony. So we're creating a new event that goes along with our mentor appreciation event. So we're going to tie in those 2 events in November. Hopefully, you know, things are going to be calmed down by then. We're actually going to go to one of our champions businesses, and they have a big ballroom there. So we're going to utilize their services since they were so good to us throughout the year, and do it that way. So we kind of had a backup plan for different items that might not have gone for a lot. And there's also the fear, you know, like of businesses that may close. So like if you look on our BidPal page, like we had like a statement on there that, you know, we would refund any items, but we also gave options to, you also could make a donation and be 100% 100, the value of the item with the money, it'd be $100 or 100% donation to the charity. So we've had two that have passed so far that they were sporting events that closed, and both of our donors, which we kind of thought was going to happen anyway, just said go ahead and we'll just take the tax receipt. So that worked out well for them, but kind of like to have that option for our bidders, just to know, hey, you know, there's different things that we can do in case something might happen. And then there was a few like sporting events too that may get postponed. You know, I said if it's not a problem, you know, we can always offer it to another whoever was the next highest bidder if that was a conflict for them. So we tried to just make our bidders feel comfortable in the fact that, you know, we would work with them if something was closed or canceled at the same time. But it definitely was an experience. The first year, I mean, it was a lot of entering stuff into the portal, and you put in different items and getting pictures of logos from restaurants and sporting teams and all that kind of all those details that you needed to do, at least with our One Cause portal. And it was, like I said, it was a lot of work, but in the end, you know, as far as like figuring everything out, but once you saw the numbers coming in, and it was just real exciting. But like I was trying to say, you know, people were excited to have something to do. People have asked me when's our next auction going to be, because it provided them some entertainment. And you know, I think one of the things that it proved, first of all, is that, you know, and it can be for all agencies, when you have your dedicated champions who want to be a part of your program, you know, they're going to help you out. And you know, my next phase right now is we're working on our golf tournament, which, you know, we're incorporating an auction in there. And now that we're kind of deeper into, you know, the impact of COVID-19, you know, I'm happy to say, like, we're not at 100% for renewals for like whole sponsors, but we're probably around 80%, which I'm pretty tickled with that. And then we have leads for some new corporations who can step up and help us out. But, you know, it's a challenging time, but for anyone who's nervous about trying to get into, you know, the online auction world, you know, I would say take a chance. You know, for us, what we netted the previous year, we actually made more money this year. It was just in the main factor is that we didn't have as many expenses as we did. So that was really exciting for us and encouraging for us at the same time. Our expenses were about $13,000 the year before, and this year they were right around $3,000, and most of that was buying gift cards. So so that was kind of, you know, refreshing too, and kind of kept us, you know, with the relief and knowing how everything's going to kind of look for the future, which hopefully we'll still have our champions around and still willing to support us in our mission. So that's kind of what I had. I hope it was a little bit insightful. And I'm more than happy to take any questions or thought processes, any of that kind of stuff that people may have.
Thanks so much for sharing, Marty. Does anybody have questions or want to comment about the process? I will say that I am on your email list, and it was I really enjoyed, it was great to get these daily updates and kind of say here's this item, and that it was entertaining, and it wasn't I mean, didn't feel invasive or anything. It was kind of entertaining. And I'm just curious if you are thinking about, you would just do online next year.
Oh, that is going to be our everything from now on. I mean,
okay. I'm sorry if I missed that. Yeah. Okay. So would you say it was less time intensive, would you say, overall? Or would you say that it was less time intensive overall?
It saved so much time. I mean, we're still gonna do an in-person event next year, but with the buy it now, we can have so much stuff sorted already that we can have ready to give to people when they leave. But just the mere fact, like, I had people from different states winning items. And I mean, there's a little bit of an expense like for shipping some things, but what they were able to spend, I'm like, I'm more than happy to ship things away. And they never would have been to my event if it
Yeah,
wouldn't
right.
have been for that in person, if we kept it all in person. So it's just opening up to such a huge population of people. And I do commend our board. I commend our mentors. I mean, it was a team effort because by them sharing like our event, because like I said, I created that event on Facebook, that helped out. And just asking people who I had no idea who they were, like, how did you find out about us? And they're like, oh, I just saw this on so and so's Facebook page and thought this looked kind of fun, or I know my friend's a mentor and thought we could help out somehow, some way. So yeah, this is Mentor Iowa's future for any auction that we do.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Just unmute yourself, or if you want to put something in chat.
Another thing, that one kind of inconvenience was just sorting through everything. Once the auction was over, I told people I need 2 days to go through everything and make sure that the winning items are in your pile and all that. But our people were great, and we had curbside pickup, just kind of like any business, and some people would come in and chat and talk, and just getting feedback, and it was nice to see people as well. It just wasn't the same, like in a celebratory type fashion, but you still got to see them because they had to come to your office to get your stuff, unless you wanted to mail like a small gift card or something like that.
Okay, just pausing to see if anyone else wants to ask Marty something or has comment. Thanks, Marty. It was certainly insightful to have the ins and outs about how that worked to take an activity online. There were a couple other folks that said they had to cancel events, and Anna, you mentioned that you canceled your fundraiser and were able to move it, the silent auction, online. Would you like to share a little bit about that process, or how that went for you? Did you use a virtual some kind of virtual fundraising software or platform? Annie, you're muted on your end if you wanted to share something. Or Lynn or Anna, did you have anything you wanted to share about your fundraisers that were canceled, or plans to reschedule or take them virtually?
This is Lynn. We had a bowling event scheduled in March, and usually we draw about 300 people. And, our satellite office was in Grinnell, and they also had one that's scheduled for April, and we had to cancel. We postponed those. And just this week, our board has chosen to cancel those. So don't have a plan B at this point in time.
Okay. In the meantime, you just got a different grant, right?
Yes, thankfully, yes.
And Anna says they're trying to figure out how to do a virtual trivia. And I know there are, I'm sure you've been looking, I know there are lots of programs out there too for online trivia, which has been a popular event with all the social distancing too. So if you have other ideas you want to share, or questions about what's going on with a fundraiser you have, make sure you put it in the chat too. We can talk about that. In addition to Marty's resources and sharing the Community Foundation's conversation, that will be a great resource for you to watch that, some other testimony. This is a webinar. We'll make sure you share this link with you too, about just having virtual events, and you can see the description of what they talk about in the webinar. And this is from Mobile Cause, which is a fundraising software platform, but I'll make sure that you get to their link as well, that they just have a lot of other resources too. So I would encourage you to check them out. Not that I'm promoting Mobile Cause as the application. I do know that New Opportunities used that there, used Mobile Cause for, it was an in-person fundraising. So they would have some experience with that. But moving on, then there's a next slide has a list of other resources. Some are, Chad, if you can advance the slides. So just a variety of resources there too. Some things to read, some brochures to download, and also just some videos and webinars that you can access just for other ideas about taking fundraising online. Does anybody else on the call have a specific question for Marty? Someone else on the call? What other ideas or other ideas, things they're doing for fundraising right now?
I don't really know of too many different ones. I mean, my email inbox gets kind of flooded with things from time to time. But even like going to like the Mobile Cause or Network for Good, like even if you go to those web pages, I mean, they're starting to kind of talk about different ways to raise funds. Like now for me, you know, like I'm gonna start focusing my efforts on, you know, the golf tournament, which is kind of the summer activity, so to say. And then I'm going to try and tweak, you know, our mentor appreciation event that we do later on in the year with our awards. So hopefully that can be some kind of it possibly might be a gala type situation for us, in hopes that, you know, things are starting to recover, people are doing a little bit better. But it's constantly tweaking, and sooner or later, you know, someone's going to come up with the next incredible idea. But for us, you know, I'm still going to say I recommend anybody to go online. And if you have any naysayers, I think my information was on the front slide, but I'm more than happy to talk one-on-one with anyone. And I'll be honest, there were times, I mean, there were certain situations where, you know, I don't want to come off in a certain way, but I mean, I was shedding tears a few times, some of joy and some for sadness. Like when you lost a donor, or you knew when a donor was in trouble, you know, you felt bad. But then, you know, the fun of just, I mean, I'm kind of a competitive person, and just to see your auction totals go up, and the last 5 minutes was just insane, you know, as far as the activity and how many people were on there. And I'm like, oh, I mean, it makes you feel good that you have so many people supporting your mission, which is really fun at the same time. And it was stressful. I mean, you know, all the decisions that we had to make. But I mean, now looking back on it, I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic has been disastrous. But I mean, if it kind of helped us, if there's one ray of light for us as an organization, you know, it's helped us kind of pursue the online format for our future.
Thanks, Marty, for those additional thoughts. So we will send out the slides as well as the recording, then you'll have the access to all of these resources. We would be remiss, Chad, if you pull up the last slide. We don't want to ignore what is going on in the world around us besides COVID. Mentor has a really great statement on racial violence, and they also have a lot of resources for your program supporting young people in the wake of violence and trauma, and also other resources for you educating yourself, taking a look at your program, educating mentors too about equity and inclusion. And also June is LGBTQ and Pride Month, and that is the focus for mentoring. So they have a Pride guide as well, the supplement to the elements of effective practice. So yes, just lots of things to be supporting our young people about these days. So thank you for all of your continued work at this even more stressful time, and then looking at making sure we stay afloat by staying financially sustainable as well. So just appreciate everything that you're doing. Please know we're here as a resource, and we will be back at it next month with another webinar, and open to topics or additional, if there are additional things we need to be covering as we had been earlier in the crisis. So thanks so much for joining us today.